Hello, everybody, and welcome to Starting Small Music. I'm Justin McCormick, and you're about to hear a conversation with an artist, musician, and music industry professional on their journey and how they got to where they are today. At Starting Small, we like to take you on a journey uncovering the untold stories of your favorite songs and artists. So sit back, relax, and enjoy the show.
Just keep a smile on your face and it'll be okay. Try not to be bitter, you gotta do it either way. Keep a smile on your face and it'll be okay. So when life throws a jab, you gotta duck out of the way.
What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to the Starting Small Music Podcast. Today we have Bernard Porter, president and founder of PCG Companies. How you doing today, Bernard?
Well, my friend, I'm doing great. It's a blessed day. I love the fall season and the changeover, and very thankful to be here with you.
Thank you for coming on. So, getting right into your story, you were raised in Kentucky. What was your childhood like?
Well, my childhood was rough because I was raised by a single mom, and I lost my father very, very young, tragically, and I kind of witnessed that. So that's a hard thing for a young person to get over. But I was very thankful for the mentors that kind of got put in my pathway, during my growing up during that time, because I could have very easily just gone down the wrong path.
Right.
Very easily. And I know we're going to get into the music side in a minute, but music, I definitely credit music with saving me in a lot of ways.
Now, it was your mom that actually introduced you to music, right? She got you your first guitar?
She did. She bought me a guitar, and I'm so thankful that I never sold it. Because
Right.
you don't really, when you're young like that, you don't really put a value on the importance of something so significant in your life. And I remember having it out at yard sales when I had kind of evolved and gotten Les Pauls and Telecasters and Stratocasters and the Gibson E35s. I've had just about every kind of guitar you can imagine.
Yeah.
They were much more expensive, but to me, that little guitar is priceless. Sure. And it never sold at the yard sale. And, we had multiple ones.
There must have been a reason for that.
I'm very thankful it never did sell because it sits right next to me right now in the office.
Yeah. Now, was this something you asked for, was a guitar, or she thought this is something that you might need, just to kind of something to do?
It was kind of one of those things. She thought I needed something to do because we lived out in the country and there wasn't a lot of, we were very spread out at that time in that part of Kentucky. So it was hard to have somebody just come over and play with you at your house unless somebody drove you.
Right.
So that guitar kind of became my world. And I really practice all the time. I didn't have the advantages that you guys have. We didn't have YouTube. We couldn't go and do tutorials online. We had what was called a Mel Bay booklet. And that Mel Bay booklet is what got me started with basic chord fundamentals. Mm-hmm. So from there, I just kept advancing with it. And I had a gift for it. It felt right in my hands. Yeah. And it became very therapeutic for me, going through the trials and tribulations of, living a hard life and struggling and, trying to take care of what you could take care of at such a young age. A lot of responsibility at a young age.
Now, were you putting any lyrics to paper at that time, or were you just focusing on the guitar?
At that point, I was just focusing on the guitar. I didn't really understand the songwriting side of things. I did network with a couple guys that were older than me that, I learned little licks and little song phrases from, and I really always respected and adored that side of it, the mentoring side. And we're going to hear that. You're going to hear that from me a lot on this thing, the mentoring side. It's so important. Right. And, I was always one of those people that sucked it in and would listen, to people, right. And try to learn. And I pride myself on, I did learn things in school, but I would definitely say that from the mentorship that I've had from people that came in my life in different phases of my life, that's where the real education came into play.
For sure. Now, I've heard stories about you going out on the road playing professionally. How does a young guy out of Kentucky make it out of like a small town like that?
Well, my mother ended up deciding to. I had a stepfather during those times for a brief period of time,
Mm-hmm.
and that's how we ended up in Kentucky because that was his hometown. But he ended up going. He was military. He ended up going to Korea
Oh,
and
wow.
leaving this city boy and his mom in the middle of the wilderness.
Jeez.
It was crazy, but I have to say I fell in love with it.
Mm-hmm.
I fell in love with the country. I'd never seen anything like that before. You know,
Yeah.
I love getting out I love getting out in nature, in barefooted.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it's funny we're talking about this now because I've been doing a lot of research and reading the fact that when you look at a lot of the generations that preceded us, that a lot of times they had healthier lives in the sense of their bodies, their internal organs, and stuff like that. And there's some research that points to the fact that because they were barefooted, you know, we have rubber soles that keep, you know, whatever that is from Mother Earth, from the magnetic, whatever you want to call it, from
Mm-hmm.
really touching us.
Yeah.
So I encourage everybody to get out in their bare feet, walk in the grass every now and then, and reflect nature. You know, get closer to God. You know, being out in the woods when it's so quiet, you can hear your footsteps.
Yeah.
Find yourself, be careful about it. Your Uncle Bernard is not saying go out in the middle of the woods by yourself. You know, if you don't know what you're doing, I don't want to get you hurt. But I think everybody needs to experience that to a degree. It's very, very therapeutic, and that helped me with my music. It helped me with my drive that I had. You
Mm-hmm.
know, and you've got a very strong drive too. You remind me a lot of myself when I was just kind of, I didn't know what to do at that time. I didn't have people like me around like you do.
Yeah.
But I would just had that. I would say one of the biggest things that I had was um, I was very passionate and I was very much a goal setter, and the ambition in me is what took me there.
Yeah.
I was very ambitious. That
Sure.
was probably the strongest thing in me is I had ambition to do better and want to take care of things and want to have a better life and help people. That was
Mm-hmm.
a big part of always who I wanted. That was a big core of what I wanted to do. If you really want me to be honest with you, Justin, I wanted to be a doctor.
Really? I remember you saying that now, but now you're a
Yeah,
doctor for artists.
yeah, exactly right. I didn't
Right.
realize that, and then all of a sudden I realized I am a doctor. I'm just a different kind of one. I'm a doctor of. I'm a doctor of this. I mean, I talk people off cliffs all the time.
Yeah.
It's not just about music for me, guys.
Mm-hmm.
You know, people. You know, you're in this entertainment industry, whether you be acting, modeling, music. You know, it's a jungle, and it's a roller coaster.
Right.
We can get down. We can go up. Tremendous highs, tremendous lows. Sometimes when it goes too far down, you got to have somebody like me that comes in and keeps you on track, keeps you on focus, lifts you up,
Right.
tells you it's not as bad as you think it is.
Right. You know, it's
We're all
funny that you
human.
talk. Oh, sorry. Keep going.
No, I'm saying we're all human. Nobody is excluded from that club as far
Right.
as the ups and downs of life.
For sure. Now you talked about growing up in the country and like just how that benefited you. I think it's really cool because I've been reading Johnny Cash's book and he says like the people that like to say country music isn't country anymore, it's because like the world's not country anymore. You know, it's never going to be as secluded as it was back in the day when those country songs were being written. So it is a definitely an advantage growing up in that time period where there was a lot more nature.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I think you know this already, Justin. But there was a part of my career that I was in a production deal with Teddy Gentry of the group Alabama, which was the artist of the millennium.
Right.
Okay, but
Mm-hmm.
when they came out in the 1970s, everybody was saying that they were a pop band.
Really.
Now, I want you to think about that now. When we look at Alabama in the context of the way we know them now,
Mm-hmm.
to say, play me some mountain music like grandma, if that ain't country. But at that particular time, we were reviewed as a pop band to a certain degree, and they were on mainstream pop radio just because it was so popular.
Yeah.
But now we look at the new group of artists coming in, and it's the same thing that's happening.
Mm-hmm.
You know, oh, that's not country. Well, they said they weren't country, but we know that they were.
Yeah.
And I think what you just said encapsulates, you know, the generational pulse of it. To them, it is country.
For sure.
Now,
Now,
it lets you know you're getting older, I guess, when you say those types of comments. You know.
now, did you meet someone like yourself when you were playing guitar in Kentucky that helped you get out on the road, or did you just pack up the van and start playing?
Well, I met a guy named Bill Riddle, God bless his soul, that became one of my first mentors in Kentucky, and he was related to my stepfather, and he was a wonderful man. And he taught me the wildwood flower, and he taught me a lot of the traditional acoustic styled guitar parts. And he was a real blessing to my life in a lot of ways. He was a real smart guy too. He had a software company. He was based out of Lexington and Frankfort, Kentucky. So he had a pretty good business going. He was about, I'm going to say he was about 12 years older than I was,
Mm-hmm.
you know, and we're talking, so he was 24, 25 years old at that time.
Mm-hmm.
But just a huge mentor. I give him a lot of credit with kind of getting me on track and really teaching me how to even tune my guitar properly.
For sure.
Because that's one of those things that can be frustrating for a young player when they don't even know how to tune it correctly. And even though they may be playing the chords right, it doesn't sound right.
Right. Now, where does this decision come like that you say, maybe I want to step away from being the artist musician on stage to maybe go into management?
Well, that happened much later on in life. We're going to skip a lot of chapters here, but we went. I was really burning the candle at both ends.
Mm-hmm.
At that point in the career, I was an independent artist. I had my own tour bus. I had a tractor trailer.
Mm-hmm.
I had a very large, expensive sound system, all JBL front loaded, Heel 24 by 8 by tour by 4 mixing console. That mixing console alone was $30,000.
Wow.
I mean, I had significant equipment.
Yeah.
Hydraulic. I had a 150 chromed par 64 lights on hydraulic lifts when we went and played. So when we set up, you knew we were there.
Yeah.
Okay. So I was handling the booking, the bus driving, the mechanic, the mentor, the sweeper. I had so many jobs that I was carrying. It was killing me, literally. I loved the art of playing music when we played and making a living from it.
Yeah.
But all of the ancillary things that I did, and mind you, I had very talented people around me as artists,
Right.
but they weren't very good at those other things. They weren't mechanics. They weren't bus drivers. They were more like, you bring us in, we're part of the band. When we're on stage, we'll kill it. And finally, when I was 27 years old, we were playing a big venue called Rogues Gallery. Sorry about that. We played a big venue in Virginia Beach, Virginia, called Rogues Gallery. This is a 1,000-seat venue right off the beach. Fun place to play. Love playing there.
Yeah.
I admired the guy that owned the place. He was a very successful businessman. He's still living, as a matter of fact.
Wow.
And he owns hotels, and he owned property in resort cities all up and down the East Coast. And whenever he used to come in, and it wasn't all the time, I would make sure I'd go up and talk to him and introduce myself and ask him how everything was. And he was a very stylish guy, always dressed impeccably, always most intimidating person I'd ever met at that point in my life. Not that he was mean. He just had a presence about him. You knew when he walked in the room.
Right.
I admired that about him, and I studied him. So one time when I went in to get paid, the guys were packing up everything. He was in the office with the general manager. I thought something was wrong. Like one of my guys maybe did something wrong, or I didn't know. I said, is everything okay? His name was Nabil Kassir, and he was from Iraq. Okay. Came here with nothing. He said, Porter, I've been watching you for a long time. And he said, you know, I own a lot of properties and a lot of businesses, and I don't really know that much about music. And I was wondering if you want to start a company with me, and I'll give you part of the company. I'll help you get insurance on your wife and new baby. I just had my first child.
Mm-hmm.
And he said, I'll help you. I'll even help you buy a house to get you settled here. I couldn't believe it.
Yeah.
But he said, I got to know if you want to do it. He said, I think you're the perfect guy.
Mm-hmm.
So within a weekend, I replaced myself in my own band. I went from a rock and roll, long haired, you know, at that time, makeup wearing, I mean, we were doing it all, to a desk in a suit and haircut, short. It freaked people out. They could not believe it would be almost like you stepping away from music.
Yeah.
With everything that everybody knows about your passion for what you do, Justin, it would be like you taking a turn. And people even challenged me, are you sure? Because actually everything was going pretty well. The music career, we had caught the attention of Michael Nard of Walden, who was a big producer. He produced Whitney Houston.
Mm-hmm.
We had just done a big thing with Clarence Clemens from Bruce Springsteen. I mean, we had some cool things going on, but I didn't know if I'd ever get another chance like that again.
Right. Now, what was the band name that you guys were going under at that time, like with the bus and the council and everything? Like, what were you guys going under?
The last band that we had was called Faces,
Faces.
FACES.
And that was
Okay?
probably the
And we
most
did,
successful version of the band.
I don't know if it's the most successful, but it was just different versions. You know, back in those days in the 1980s, you could literally work 7 nights a week, make good money. Culturally, as a society, we would go out every night.
Yeah.
People that came home from their office, they go out clubbing.
Right.
Live bands were the way to go. If you were great at what you do, you had to do some cover stuff, but you could do your own original music. It was very theatrical in production and sound and image. It was very concert-esque in the way that it presented itself. And we could work every night of the year if we wanted to. That's how popular we were.
Wow.
Yeah.
Now, I've heard the story a few times, but I definitely want you to tell it again because I think it's so important. The importance of taking a phone call and just taking that time to speak to people is how you landed one of your first big management deals with the Little Richard. Can you tell our listeners that story?
Yeah, I got a call from a lady by the name of Sandra Swift. I'll never forget her. And it was a cold call. And I'm one of these guys that I'll pretty much take any call that comes in, but I will determine how long I stay on it. I'm not a time waiter. What can I help you with? I'm sorry, I'm not interested. Or, you know, why are you contacting me today?
Right.
So I went through the drill. She said, Mr. Porter, I was told that you could help me and you know what you're doing. And I just been handed a project and I don't know what to do with it. I said, okay, well, what is it? She said, well, I work for a book publishing distributor, and we're going to be producing an event at the Bonaventure Hotel in Los Angeles, California. And she said, I've never done anything. My boss just put it on my desk and said, handle it. And I said, okay, so what do we need to do? She said, we need to create the ultimate party experience.
Yeah.
You know, I said, why are you doing this? I said, because she said, because we want all these little book publishers to come into our party and get familiar with our new brand so we can sign them to distribution. Mm-hmm. I said, okay, I got that. I said, so you want a party where they're having fun and dancing? And she says, yes. So that one call led me to producing an event where they paid $500,000 for that event. Okay, because the whole convention was invited to this party and they wanted their party to be the talk of everybody.
Yeah.
Okay. So I started thinking to myself, what would be the ultimate party group, the party artist? My mother was always a fan of Little Richard.
Yeah.
And so I was able to get in touch with his agent at the time and we booked Little Richard. Okay. And on front of Little Richard, we put a cover band called the Blues Other Brothers that had their song list was an arsenal, party song after party song. You know the Blues Brothers movie?
Oh, yeah.
I think if they had 10 brothers, they're all dressed like them. There's 10 of horn section, somersaults, just kick ass.
That's crazy.
So they opened for Little Richard.
Mhm.
And show was a success, people dancing on the tables. This company's name was the talk of the convention. They won. Everybody wanted to sign up with them.
Yeah.
Okay. So here's where the play came in. Out of respect for my mother and the king of rock and roll, Little Richard, we have something called a hospitality rider.
Yeah.
So in the hospitality rider, they asked for a 2-bedroom suite. He got it. Piano in his suite. He got it. Selected amounts of teas and honeys. He got it. He got everything on that list. A lot of times people will cross it out. No, I'm not going to give you that. A lot of times, as long as you're paying that artist, well, they'll, no big deal. I
Right.
gave him everything.
Mhm.
So, and I wasn't even planning on going and meeting Little Richard. That was
Just out of
fine,
respect.
you
Yeah.
know. Yeah. But his road manager came to me and said, Little Richard wants to meet the man that respected him today. I said, wow. So he took me up to that suite. And within 5 minutes, he was on the piano and he and I were singing together. And we bonded. And he invited me back. And that relationship that I created, not only did I make a good income from the event, not only did the company win at the event, but I developed a relationship with Little Richard that went on for 15 years of me making income through him calling me and saying, Bernard, would you handle this for me?
Yeah.
Bernard, would you call these people for me? Bernard, would you call this promoter in Canada and put that together?
Mm-hmm.
It turned into over 15 years. It turned into millions of dollars.
Yeah. Now, how did that
Through
connection lead to
one
you?
thing.
Yeah,
One thing, just one thing, treating somebody right, doing our job.
for sure. Now, how
Yeah.
did that lead to your meeting Jerry Lee Lewis?
They did a show together, and he, according to Richard, I wasn't there.
Mm-hmm.
He saw the frustration on Jerry, and he said, "You need to call Bernard." I said, "Well, who is Bernard?" He gave him my phone number. So Jerry Lee Lewis calls me at the house sometime after that. So, "Hi, this is Jerry Lee Lewis. I want to speak to Bernard Porter." I thought it was my friend Kevin Prankin. I hung up on him.
Wow.
And then he called right back, and I realized it wasn't a prank. I said, "Oh, Mr. Lewis, I'm so sorry. You know, me and my friend Kevin, we prank each other all the time." And I thought that, "Oh, don't worry about it." He said, "I want to fly you down to Nesbitt, Mississippi. I need to talk to you."
Yeah.
So he flew me down there. They had a car pick me up. I went down from Memphis Signature Center, drove down to his ranch. I'll never forget it as long as I live. He walks out in a white bathrobe. And all he said was, "Son, I want you to take over." That was it.
Wow.
And in my mind, Justin, I was going, "This is going to be crazy. This is going to be crazy. This is what my mind was." But how can you turn it down?
Right.
I couldn't turn it down, and it was crazy.
Yeah.
I got the greatest stories, a lot of which I can't even tell, but the greatest stories that anybody could ever tell about being with him in certain scenarios. And he's a genius. He's an absolute bona fide genius, supernatural stuff. I mean, some stuff I still can't explain.
For sure.
There's a magic on him, man, like I've never seen. And yeah, so it was a great honor to work with, you know, the icons of rock. When you research, if you're a young person, go research your predecessors, find out, get influenced by them.
Yeah.
You know, look at who they influenced.
Yeah.
It's really unbelievable. It's like working with, you know, and Jerry's still alive, Justin.
Yeah.
He's still alive. Last man standing.
For
When you
sure.
look at Sun Records, Jerry Lee Lewis, Elvis Presley, Johnny Cash, Carl Perkins, Roy Orbison. If you had been a betting man back in the day, you probably would have said Jerry's going first.
Yeah.
He's the only one that's left.
That's crazy.
The only one.
Now, fast forwarding a few more years, you actually are pretty much, you kind of helped launch Jason Aldean's career. Take me through the time that you see him perform and the kind of the pitch meetings, or the first initial pitch meetings of taking him into the label.
Yeah, well, Michael Knox, his producer, and Mike is the one that kind of picked him out of Macon, Georgia, kept the relationship with him, worked with him, and tried to get him traction. And they just were Jason had a little stint at Liberty Records. It never went anywhere, and everybody had pretty much turned him down. But Michael still believed in him, and Michael said, "Look, let me back up a second.
Yeah.
The introduction of Michael Knox, I knew Michael. Obviously, he was running Warner Chappell Music, was a big publisher. Kitty Moon was one of the original managers of Jason. Okay, a lot of people don't know that. Kitty's not with us anymore. Very, very smart, savvy woman. Kitty took Jason's package to my partner, Stan Moress, who was iconic in the music industry. Okay. We were part of the consortium management firm. Stan came in and put that on my desk and said, "Take a look at this. What do you think?" So I listened to I listened to Jason for the first time. Then Michael Knox had produced it. And I go, wow. In my mind, we needed something that could resonate to a young audience.
Yeah.
And I thought that he was it.
Mm-hmm.
So I went back to Stan and I said, "Stan, we got to go to Benny Brown on this. We got to get this done. This kid has potential. To me, it's what we need on this label." We had a co-venture with Broken Bow Records in the world of marketing and A&R. Mike Martinovich was a partner in the firm. Mike had been with Sony Records. Mike was an amazing marketeer. He was Michael Martinovich, who was my partner with Stan, was very instrumental in the marketing of Garth Brooks.
Yeah.
Very respected guys. So that's why Broken Bow did the co-venture with us, because of that level of expertise that we had. Mm-hmm. So we had the ability to sign something through that relationship to Broken Bow, but Benny Brown, the owner, had to approve it.
For sure.
So we kind of gave him the check mark. Now we're going to Benny to try to get him on board.
Yeah.
And it took several tries to get him on board, because Benny wasn't feeling it like I was, because Benny was more of a traditional listener, at least at that time.
Right.
And I was wearing him out on it too, And I think about the seventh call that we had about that topic, Benny said, I said, "Benny, what are we going to do about this? Michael and Jason, they're calling and we want to do it. What have you thought about what you want to do?" Mm-hmm. And I kept selling. And he said it very undertone. "Let's do it." I missed it. And I kept going. He said, "Bernard," I said, "let's do it." I go, "What?" "Really? Okay, great." I said, "You going to fly in?" He said, "No, you get with Paul Brown, who is his in-house lawyer, and his nephew." He said, "You and Paul just get together and let them know." So I called Michael Knox. I said, "Michael, I got some news." He said, "I know y'all are passing." I said, "No, we're actually going to sign." He goes, "What?" I said, "But Michael, don't you say nothing to him, because I want you guys to meet me over at the Red Door. And I'm going to know if you said something, because I'm going to be able to read his face."
Yeah.
I said, I want to make him think we're passing, and then I'm going to hit him." He said, "Okay, sounds like fun." So I'm already there. Paul arrives, and Paul was in on the whole thing we were going to do. And they come in, and Jason sits down. He goes, "Hey, Bernard." I said, "Hey, Jason, how are you?" He's "Great." And I say, "Well, Jason, you know what? We've taken a long, hard look at this, and I've talked to Benny about it, and I'm setting this thing up. It sounds like I'm going to say we're going to pass." And I had gone to the store and gotten a cigar, and I reached in my coat pocket and I said, "Welcome to Broken Bow Records." He goes, "What? Oh, I just wish I had it on video. Oh man, that would have been so incredible. I can't believe that I didn't do it."
Yeah.
But that's what started the whole thing.
That's awesome. Now,
yeah.
Fast forwarding to your next venture, what gives you the idea to launch PCG, and what was the idea behind launching it?
When I look back at my history in life, I was feeling I was making money, my friend, but I wasn't feeling content, like I was doing anything to help my fellow man. And I really felt that we needed to kind of be a beacon for young artists out there that really nobody was really kind of giving them the proper guidance. There are some people out there giving them forms of it, but I felt like I had a pretty good overall scope of what needed to happen with the full scale career. Yeah. And that's really the reason why we started Premier Career Guidance, is to, that mentorship that we talked about, you were going to be hearing more and more about. here it is.
Yeah.
It's a tough business. We can do everything right. Sometimes it doesn't work. You get people in, they've got the talent, but they don't have the work ethic. There's so much that goes into it, man. And it's even with all of that, sometimes, nobody has any control over the timing and the luck. Nobody does. Anybody tells you that they can guarantee you something is lying to you. Even if it's the head of a label, they can't even guarantee it.
Right.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
But it just takes hard work and perseverance. And so we created a collective group of experts all over the country that can come in, and there's where my doctor role comes. I can prescribe various things as I see everything from even anxiety problems or health issues or nutrition or stage presence or media training or wardrobe or brand or style or digital strategies, all of the above.
Yeah.
There's a time and place for everything. Everybody's different.
For sure. Now, who are to our listeners out there, who are some of the notable clients on your roster right now that you're working with that you're really happy to bring to market?
Well, we're very proud of the fact that Gail, the success level that she had. Gail was with me for a couple years in the program, and she had the #1 song on streaming platforms, A, B, C, D, E, F, U. You remember that?
Mm-hmm.
And she really led a generation. The generational song for COVID. There's that timing. She had a very melodic song that said what they pretty much wanted to say to the world because of COVID and not being able to do things. Right. That timing just exploded.
Right.
Now she's on touring all over the world. She made a bunch of money, and she's only 17 years old. Okay.
Wow. Yeah.
We've got a Horizon artist getting ready to come out right now, Sydney Palmieri, who is an alumni right now, but she really found herself musically. Got a big record coming out. She's getting a lot of attention on social media and in New York City with Fashion Week. Mm-hmm. Of course, Michael Ray is an alumni. He's done pretty well with a couple #1s under his belt already. He's on within the Warner system in the country field. Hello Sister has done really well with what they've done on television. They've got a new record out right now that's cooking. We also have worked with established artists like the Newsboys and people like that we've been clients for a long time. Wes Campbell, their manager, has been a close ally and almost a best friend for years and years and years. We consult corporations like Simon Mall Properties, Dave & Buster's, different things like that have entertainment things that they do sometimes. So sometimes we can offer events and different things like that. So we're kind of all over the boards, which is the way where you have to be in the climate of the world right now.
For sure. Now, in the past, in the past year or so, you launched PCG Records, signing your flagship artist, Paige King Johnson. What was it like in the idea to launch PCG Records, and what was the process like of choosing Paige as your first flagship artist?
I could boil it down with her. Of course, everybody that comes into the program we feel is ultra talented. You have to be that in order to get in. Okay. Mm-hmm. But I think that it was about #1, timing and work ethic.
Yeah.
Other than you, she's one of the hardest working artists that I've ever worked with.
For sure.
She is on it, man. And so I knew that we were going to need that.
Insane for her too, climbing the charts and everything.
Well, I'm very proud to say that our label at this moment has the #1 independent female country artist on the Billboard charts. #1.
Congratulations. That's awesome.
Yeah. So, and from that traction, because the way I've built the business model is I want her to outgrow us. Mm-hmm. That label is not to hold her down.
For sure.
If she can get a major interested in her, we win too. It's all about helping her.
Right.
And now we have a major that she has a meeting with that because of that announcement we made.
Yeah.
With her positioning. And now her stats are building, her socials are building, her subscribers are building. It's giving her the proof of concept to get in front of somebody like that because it makes sense.
Right. Now, I like to close all my interviews. What's a piece of advice that you see from the back end of the industry that you would give to aspiring artists, people that want to make it in the music industry?
Okay. Trust your gut. Your gut instinct will be right more than it's wrong. Promise you that.
Yeah.
If it's wrong, you will learn wisdom from it. Always trust that about people, situations. My gut's saying, don't walk down that alley. Don't walk down the alley.
Yeah.
My gut's telling me that I shouldn't sign this agreement. Don't sign it. My gut's telling me that they're rushing me and that I shouldn't do this. Don't do it, guys. Don't do it. I can't tell you the times I've met with people and I said, well, how did you feel before you got into that terrible situation? Well, I didn't feel good. Well, why did you do it? They go, I don't know.
Yeah.
Don't be bullied into anything. If somebody's pressuring you into something, usually that means something.
Yeah.
Somebody that has integrity in class is going to give you the time that you need to do your due diligence, which is your research. Determine whether that's the right thing for you. Guys, life is short. And then treat everybody with respect. Make impact on everybody that you meet. From the cashier at the supermarket to the person at the gas station, brighten everybody's day. Watch what that does for you.
Sure.
It's all mathematical, guys. Every bit of it. It's all mathematical.
Yeah.
God invented numbers.
Yeah.
The way you posture yourself on this earth will create a positive and energy around you and what you're doing with your career, your health, your relationships, and your life.
Hey guys, thanks for watching. I hope you guys enjoyed this episode. Make sure to subscribe and leave a comment, and check out my music on all streaming platforms at Justin McCormick. See you guys next time.